So guys, in this video, I'm going to be discussing a much simpler version of consumer surplus. You can say that this video is more relevant to AS students because the version 1 was kind of relevant to more A2 students. However, the AS students can also extract knowledge from there, and if they write it in the paper, it's not a problem, okay? So, and in version 1, we discussed consumer surplus using the marginal utility, that it is the difference between marginal utility and the price and the market price of the product. But this is kind of a much more simpler version, you can say. Okay, so coming back. So firstly, what's the definition of consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is the difference between what the consumers are willing and able to pay and what they actually end up paying. That is what they are willing and able to pay. If I am willing and able to pay, let's say $15 for a product and the market price is $10, so the consumer surplus for that one unit would be $5, right? The difference, guys, best. And consumer surplus represents consumer welfare. Now coming back, let's draw a diagram. So consumer surplus is the difference between what consumers are willing and able to pay and what they actually pay. Best. So guys, now let's draw a demand curve, okay? So let's say, I'll use a different marker here. So let's say this is the demand curve for chocolates, and on the y-axis I'm going to be labeling as price. Now this is the demand curve for chocolates, let's say, and the consumer is buying, let's say, 4 chocolates at a price of, let's say, $10, right? So the consumer is buying 4 chocolates at a price of $10. Perfect. Now guys, you know that the demand curve or the demand represents the willingness and ability to pay, right? What is the demand? If you recall the definition of demand, it was the willingness and the ability to pay. That is, each point on the demand curve is representing the consumer's willingness and his ability to pay that amount, right? So for example, if I take this point, then I can say that the consumer is willing to pay, let's say, P1. At this point, the consumer is willing to pay, let's say, P2. At this point, the consumer is willing to pay P3, right? And at this point the consumer is willing to pay, let's say, P4, which is $10. So guys, now can't we calculate the consumer surplus? It's so simple, because for example, let's say for the first unit of chocolate, the consumer is willing to pay P1 and he ends up paying $10 because $10 was the market price. So all this vertical distance becomes the consumer surplus. For the second chocolate, let's say, for the second unit of chocolate, he is willing and able to pay, let's say, P2, and the market price is, $10 for that chocolate. So this vertical distance becomes, you can say, the consumer surplus, right? So, and you can see that there is a welfare gain for the consumer. Why? Because for the second chocolate, he is actually willing to pay more, since demand curve represents the willingness and ability to pay. So obviously for the second chocolate, he is willing to pay P2, but he ends up paying $10. He's paying less of it, right? So this vertical distance is representing, you can say, the consumer surplus for the second chocolate, right? And for the third chocolate, he's willing to pay P3, but he ends up paying only $10, right? Because at this point, you can see that the market price is $10. So again, the vertical distance becomes the consumer surplus for the third chocolate, right? And so technically what's happening over here is, you can clearly see that this whole triangle, which is kind of above the market price and under the demand curve, I don't have another marker right now, otherwise I should have actually brought another marker with me. But anyways, so all of this triangle, that is triangle A, let's call it triangle B, ABC. So triangle A, B and C is representing the area of consumer surplus. That is, this is representing consumer welfare. It is representing that consumer is better off by this area because he actually bought something at a much lower price than he was willing and able to pay, right? So this is a basic, much simpler version of consumer surplus. Okay, so now there is something else I need to also tell you, and let's draw a demand curve for, let's say, take chocolates. Now this is a demand curve for chocolates. this is quantity demanded of chocolate, this is the price of chocolates on the y-axis, and let's say that I am going to buy, let's say 4 chocolates at a price of whatever, let's say $10 a chocolate, right? So now listen to this very carefully. Remember that since demand represents the willingness and the ability, to actually pay for these chocolates, so I can say that the area under the demand curve, the area, all this area from here till here, all of this area under the demand curve will actually represent my willingness and my ability to pay for a good, right? But how many units are we buying? Since we are buying only 4 units, so our point of consideration will not be beyond 4 units, that is whatever this little triangle is, that's not considerable for us. Why? Because we are only buying 4 units, which means that all this area, let's say, let me call this, I'm going to be labeling this A, B, C and D, right? So A, B, C, D is representing my willingness and ability to pay for 4 chocolates. Now guys, remember that this area that I have actually mentioned, A, B, C, D, is representing my total willingness, that is whatever the total amount that I was willing to pay for these 4 chocolates in total, right? Okay, fine, good. Now what is the amount that I actually end up paying? Because I know that the amount I actually end up paying for these 4 chocolates in total is obviously much less than this amount, and that is what the consumer gain or the welfare gain is, right? That is what the additional surplus for the consumer is, the gains for the consumer is, right? So guys, so for example, let's see what is the amount the consumer actually ends up paying, and that is basically his total expenditure that he makes on these 4 chocolates, and that is P times Q, and that is this entire rectangle, right? So I'm going to be saying this, I'm going to be calling this let's say Z, right? So Z, B, C and D. So, and by the way, this is just $40, but since I'm writing alphabets here, so this would be the total expenditure, guys, would be area Z, B, C and D. So Z, B, C and D is basically the consumer's total expenditure. So this entire area was his willingness and ability to pay for something that was much bigger than the amount he ended up paying, which was this area. So if I deduct this entire big area from this area, I get a small triangle, that is this triangle, area AZD, area A, Z and D as my consumer surplus. So basically, technically, the consumer's willingness and ability to pay for these 4 chocolates is his total utility that he would obtain from it, or his total satisfaction he would obtain for it from his perspective, because obviously if I am willing to pay more for something, I am actually deriving a certain amount of satisfaction or utility from it, and that is why I am willing to pay more for it, right? So if I deduct area ABCD, which is representing his willingness and ability to pay, or the total satisfaction or utility he will derive out of it, minus the area that is Z, B, C and D, minus Z, B, C and D, the difference is basically the AZD is the little triangle, that is a difference, which is the area of the consumer surplus or the welfare gain. So we can clearly see, guys, that consumer surplus is that amount which is represented on a demand curve, that is under the demand curve, above the price. But don't just rote learn it, you must know the concept if you really want to, write it properly in your exams, because you know how important it is to analyze and evaluate, and those may be the best version of yourselves in your exam, and just be the best from all others. So I hope you understood what consumer surplus is, my favorite topic. I hope you all enjoyed the video. See you all next time.